Hi, I'm Jeff Gonzales, president of Trident Concepts. I'm here with Firearms Training Association to talk to the instructors about how to help a student select a firearm that is designed primarily around concealed carry. So there is this tendency within our industry to try and fit firearms to people that probably are not the best choice. I will tell you right now, this is kind of like a progression. Number one, do not put a revolver in a new shooter's hands. The revolvers are a fantastic gun, and while there's a lot of appeal to a pocket carry scenario with a revolver, most new gun owners or new to concealed carry, it is ill-advised to get them into a revolver. Aside from them being difficult to shoot, they're difficult to reload, smaller capacity, so try not to recommend a revolver first off. Second, try not to recommend these mouse guns or these really uber micro pistols. They too represent a appeal because they're so small. The problem is they're so small, they're also really hard to shoot. The key thing as an instructor is that you need the student to have a positive experience, which is not to be confused with a positive outcome. All right, so if they are shooting this revolver and shooting this mouse gun and they have a negative experience, the likelihood of them continuing in their training is virtually nil, right? These are new to the industry. They're not somebody that has an understanding that they need to work hard to get to this. They need something, they need a nice easy progression to build from one step to the next step to the next step. And if you put a firearm in their hands, it's going to put up a barrier to that, then we're not helping them. Our goal is to remove barriers, not to place barriers, right? So revolvers and mouse guns are not ideal. What I recommend is that you start with something that has a lot more forgiveness in it. So the larger framed compact pistols are going to be a far better selection. There's going to be some pushback about it not being small and not being easy to carry, but there's a difference between carrying and shooting. So the primary focus should be on their ability to their ability to shoot that firearm, and then they should be able to carry it. So you've got to walk that fine line, because remind your students that while yes, they're going to spend the majority of their time carrying that firearm, when it does come time to shoot, it'll never be more important then that they can shoot. So practicing shooting early on is the key, so that if they ever have to use their shooting skills, it's dialed in with that particular firearm. Things that I avoid is I avoid the exotics. For instance, your calibers. Try to avoid any of these crazy. I mean, there's a reason why 9mm is the king. It's because it is a very easy round to shoot, very easy round to get. There's plenty of cost. There's plenty of affordable rounds for the 9mm. So that's, avoid those exotics. The next thing that I talk about is if you can find that firearm, if you can encourage a firearm that's got a pretty decent sight radius, that sight radius is going to help them with their marksmanship component. So as they're learning to get better at shooting, that sight radius is going to be a bonus. And the shorter that sight radius, the less forgiving that gun is going to be. Now, a lot of times people talk, well, I need to fit the gun to the hand. And I agree with that to a certain extent, but the reality is that most people don't know how to fit a gun to a hand. What you really want to be able to do is make sure they can get their trigger finger on the trigger in the correct way, and then wrap the rest of their hand around the gun. So the key thing there is making sure that you can identify how to place the trigger finger on the trigger and then getting the hand wrapped around the rest of the gun, versus trying to make this esoteric kind of idea about, all right, fit this gun to this hand. First of all, they don't know what they're looking for. They might have this idea that this gun feels good in their hand until they shoot it. Right? So there's a difference between what it feels like at the counter and what it shoots like on the range. So you, with the experience, have to be able to guide them in that decision, so that, okay, that might feel good, but when it comes to shooting performance, you're going to pay for it then. So there is a balance, and remember that what feels good to them now is subjective, because once they have knowledge, then what feels good to them there is probably going to be more performance driven, all right? And so those are the two key things. Identify and address the fact that, yeah, it might feel good to you now, but then as you grow, you're going to learn that this is your new norm. This is what actually feels good to you now. So a lot of information there, I understand that. But again, your job as an instructor is to help the student answer some of these questions. So the more information you have, the better off you're going to be at, again, building that relationship of trust with your students. I'm Jeff Gonzales here with Firearm Training Association. Again, make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms, ftaprotect.com, and please use that hashtag protecting the profession.